When I saw the message on my husband's phone saying I can't stop thinking about you, boss, something inside me shattered into 1,000 pieces. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Instead, I did something that would change all three of our lives forever. I picked up his phone and typed back, "Come over tonight. Simone's working late." What happened when that doorbell rang an hour later still haunts my husband in his nightmares. But let me take you back to the beginning, because you need to understand how a perfect marriage can hide the ugliest betrayal. And trust me, what came next was more satisfying than any revenge you've ever imagined. It was a Thursday evening in our luxury condo in uptown Dallas. The kind of place you see in magazines. All floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the glittering skyline, marble countertops in the kitchen, and furniture that cost more than most people's cars. The air was thick with the rich aroma of standing rib roast, slowly cooking in the oven. Derek, my husband of 7 years, was in the kitchen wearing the burgundy apron I'd bought him last Christmas. He was humming some old R&B song, completely at ease, playing the role of the devoted husband who loved to cook for his wife after a long day at work. From where I sat at the kitchen island, pretending to scroll through emails on my laptop, Derek looked like the perfect man. Tall, handsome, successful. At 35, he'd worked his way up to senior project manager at TechVision Solutions, one of Dallas's premier tech consulting firms. He brought home a 6-figure salary, drove a BMW, and still found time to prepare gourmet meals for me. On paper, I had won the lottery. In reality, I was married to a man I no longer knew. My name is Simone Harris. I'm 32 years old, and until 2 weeks ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I'm a marketing director at a major firm downtown, pulling in my own substantial income. I'd climbed every ladder, broken through every ceiling, and done it all while maintaining what I thought was a rock-solid marriage. My mother always told me that a strong Black woman doesn't just survive, she thrives. And I had been thriving. Or so I believed. But something had shifted recently. Little things at first. Derek coming home later than usual, always with a plausible excuse. A new cologne I didn't recognize. The way he'd angle his phone away from me when texting, that lingering scent of unfamiliar perfume in his car that he'd blamed on giving a colleague a ride. Alone, each sign meant nothing. Together they painted a picture I didn't want to see. So I'd started investigating. Not dramatically, not hysterically, methodically. Like the strategic thinker I'd always been. I checked our bank statements and found small but frequent transfers. $200 here, with the memo lunch, $300 there marked gift, $500 labeled dinner. Who spends that much on lunch with coworkers? Then there were the credit card charges, flowers from a boutique I'd never received, restaurant reservations on nights he claimed to be working late, movie tickets for shows I'd never seen. Last week, I'd found a long brown hair on the passenger seat of his BMW. My hair is black and cut in a sleek bob that barely touches my shoulders. That hair was brown, wavy, and clearly belonged to someone who spent it cascading down her back. I'd confronted none of this. Not yet. Because I needed more than suspicions. I needed proof that would hold up not just in my mind, but in court, if it came to that. And deep down, in a place I hated to acknowledge, I still hoped I was wrong. Derek turned from the stove, his face lighting up with that smile that used to make my heart skip. "Baby, come taste this au jus. Tell me if it needs more time." He held out a spoon, his eyes warm with what looked like genuine affection. I stood and walked over, trying to maintain the mask of normalcy we'd both been wearing. The sauce was rich, perfectly seasoned, the kind of thing food bloggers would photograph. "It's perfect," I said, and my voice didn't even crack. "Only the best for my queen," he replied, kissing my forehead. The gesture felt like a knife twisting. That's when it happened. Derek's iPhone, lying face up on the marble counter, suddenly lit up with a notification. The screen glowed with the cold blue light of a WhatsApp message. My eyes automatically flicked toward it, and what I saw made my blood run cold. "Brianna Cole, I can't stop thinking about you, boss." Last night was amazing. When can I see you again? Time seemed to stop. The kitchen, with all its warmth and delicious smells, transformed into something sinister. I read those words 3 times to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Last night. Last night, Derek had told me he was stuck in a client emergency meeting until midnight. He'd come home after I was asleep, slipped into bed, and kissed my shoulder like nothing was wrong. Derek was still at the stove, oblivious, adjusting the temperature. He hadn't seen the message. His phone was set to show previews on the lock screen, a setting I'd always told him was risky. Now I was grateful for his carelessness. My heart hammered against my ribcage, but I forced myself to stay calm. Every instinct screamed at me to grab that phone, to throw it at his head, to demand answers, but I'd spent 7 years building a career on staying cool, under pressure, on thinking 3 steps ahead of the competition. This was no different. This was just another problem that required a strategic solution. I knew the passcode. Of course I did. It was 08-17-21-16. The date we got married. The irony wasn't lost on me. How he used the most sacred day of our lives to protect his dirty secrets. Derek returned to stirring the pot, his back to me. I picked up his phone with steady hands, typed in the code, and the screen unlocked. The WhatsApp conversation sat there waiting. I didn't open it, not yet. Opening it would show read receipts, and I needed him to stay ignorant a little longer. But I'd seen enough in that preview. Brianna Cole. I knew that name. She was the new junior analyst in Derek's department. Fresh out of college. Maybe 24 at most. Derek had mentioned her a few months ago, describing her as eager, sharp, and a fast learner. I remembered making some joke about him being a good mentor. The memory now tasted like ash. My fingers moved across the screen with cold precision. I opened the messaging app and typed a response, making sure it sounded like Derek. Casual, confident, the kind of message a man sends when he thinks he's gotten away with something. Come over tonight. Simone's working late. She won't be home until after 10. I stared at those words for a long moment. This was it, the point of no return. If I sent this, everything would change. There would be no going back to the comfortable lie, no pretending I didn't know. But I was tired of living in ignorance. If my marriage was a fraud, I wanted to see it burn in broad daylight. I pressed send. The message showed as delivered, then read. 3 dots appeared almost immediately. She was typing. Brianna Cole. Really? Are you sure it's safe? Me as Derek. Absolutely. She texted me an hour ago. Big presentation tomorrow. She's at the office. Come over at 8. I'm making dinner. Brianna Cole. I can't wait. I'll bring dessert. See you soon, baby. My stomach churned with disgust, but I kept my face neutral. I took screenshots of the entire conversation, including the previous messages I could see without opening the thread fully. Then I airdropped everything to my own phone and deleted any trace of the transfer from Derek's device. I placed the phone back on the counter at the exact angle it had been, my hand surprisingly steady. Derek turned around, holding a wooden spoon. You okay, babe? You look a little pale. I forced a smile. Just tired. Long day. That roast smells incredible though. Well, sit down and relax. Dinner's almost ready. I'm taking care of you tonight. The words dripped with irony. Taking care of me, while planning to have his mistress over the moment I left. While spending our money on another woman. While making a mockery of every vow he'd taken. I sat back at the island and watched my husband move around our kitchen. This man I'd loved, this man I'd built a life with, and felt something inside me die. Not suddenly, but like a slow fade to black. The love I'd felt was transforming into something colder, harder, something that wanted justice. We ate dinner at our dining table, the one we'd picked out together at a furniture expo in Houston 3 years ago. Derek served the rib roast on our wedding china, poured wine into crystal glasses we'd received as anniversary gifts. He talked about his day, about a difficult client, about office politics. He didn't mention Brianna once. Not a single word about the young woman he was sleeping with, the woman who'd be arriving at our door in less than an hour. I made myself eat, though every bite tasted like sawdust. I nodded at appropriate moments, made comments, played my role in this farce, and I watched the clock on the wall, counting down the minutes. 7:15. Brianna would be leaving her apartment now, probably touching up her makeup, choosing something sexy to wear, thinking she was about to have a romantic evening with her married boss. 7:30. Derek cleared the dishes. Still humming, still playing the devoted husband. He suggested we watch a movie together. I said I needed to catch up on some work emails. He kissed the top of my head and told me not to work too hard. 7:45. My phone sat in my pocket, heavy with the weight of evidence. I thought about what came next. The confrontation, the tears, the denials, the lawyers, the division of assets. The end of everything I'd thought was real. But mostly, I thought about that young woman on her way here, thinking she was special, thinking she'd found something worth destroying a marriage for. She needed a lesson, they both did, and I was going to be the one to teach it. 8 o'clock. Derek settled on the couch with his own phone, scrolling through Twitter, completely at ease. The man had ice in his veins. I had to give him that. How many times had he done this? How long had I been the fool? The apartment was quiet, except for the gentle hum of the air conditioning. The Dallas skyline twinkled through our windows, beautiful and indifferent to the drama about to unfold. 8:10. I stood up from my laptop, stretched, and walked toward the kitchen to pour myself a glass of water. My reflection in the darkened window showed a woman who looked composed, professional, calm. Inside, I was a hurricane, waiting to touch down. 8:14. My heart rate picked up despite my efforts to stay cool. This was really happening. In moments, she'd be here. The other woman, the girl young enough to be my little sister. The person who'd helped my husband betray me. 8:15. The doorbell rang. The sound cut through the silence like a gunshot. Derek's head snapped up from his phone, his eyes widening in surprise and confusion. He looked at me, then at the door, then back at me. "Who could that be?" he said, and I heard the slight tremor in his voice. Some part of him knew. Some guilty instinct was screaming danger. I set down my water glass with deliberate care. "I'll get it," I said, my voice steady and cold as steel. "No, babe. I can." Derek started to stand, but I was already moving toward the door. "Stay there," I said, not looking back. "I've got it." Every step across that living room felt like walking toward destiny. My hand closed around the brushed steel door handle, cool against my palm. I took one breath, centered myself, and pulled open the door. Standing in our hallway was exactly what I'd expected. A young woman, pretty in that fresh-faced way that youth provides, wearing a tight red dress that showed off her figure. Her makeup was carefully done, her brown hair styled in soft waves. In her hands, she held a small pink bakery box, probably containing some expensive dessert she'd picked up to impress her lover. The moment Brianna Cole's eyes met mine, her entire face transformed. The flirtatious smile that had been playing on her lips vanished, replaced by pure, animal terror. Her skin went from flushed with anticipation to white as paper in the space of a heartbeat. The bakery box nearly slipped from her trembling hands. "Hi, Brianna," I said, my voice sweet as honey and sharp as broken glass. "I'm Simone, Derek's wife. He's told me so much about you." She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Her eyes darted past me, into the apartment, probably looking for Derek, looking for an escape, looking for any explanation that would make sense of this nightmare. I'm sorry, I think I must have the wrong," she stammered, taking a step backward. "The wrong apartment?" I finished for her. "No, honey, you're exactly where you meant to be. Derek's inside. He's been expecting you. Come in." "I should go," she whispered. still backing away. I leaned against the doorframe, crossing my arms. You could go. But if you walk away right now, by tomorrow morning, everyone in your life gets an interesting email. Your parents down in Houston, your sorority sisters, your department head, HR, the CEO, everyone, screenshots of your messages to my husband, photos of those bank transfers he's been sending you. Everything. Her face crumbled. Tears welled up in her eyes. Please, she whispered. Or, I continued, you can come inside. We can all sit down like adults and have a conversation. And if you behave yourself, maybe, just maybe, I'll let you keep some of your dignity intact. Your choice, Brianna. Behind me, I heard Derek's sharp intake of breath. He'd heard everything. Good. Let him squirm. Let him feel just a fraction of the fear and humiliation he'd earned. Brianna looked like a trapped animal. Her eyes darted between me and the hallway, weighing her options. Finally, with shoulders slumped in defeat, she nodded. Good choice, I said, stepping aside. Come on in. Welcome to our home. Brianna walked past me on shaking legs, clutching that bakery box like it might protect her. She stepped into our living room and froze when she saw Derek. He'd stood up from the couch, his face drained all color, his mouth hanging open in shock and horror. For a moment they just stared at each other. Two guilty parties caught in the worst way possible. I closed the door with a soft click that sounded like a prison cell locking. Derek, honey, look who came to visit. Isn't it nice when coworkers drop by? Derek couldn't speak. His eyes ping-ponged between Brianna and me, his mind clearly short-circuiting, trying to understand how this was happening, how his careful double life had just exploded in his face. Don't just stand there, I said to him. Be a gentleman. Take our guest's coat. But Brianna wasn't wearing a coat. It was June in Dallas, 85 degrees even after sunset. The absurdity of my comment hung in the air. I was enjoying this. I realized. Enjoying watching them squirm. The pain would come later. The grief and anger and betrayal. Right now, in this moment, I was savoring their terror. I gestured toward the armchair across from our couch. Brianna, please, have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. You brought dessert? How thoughtful. What is it? It's just some cupcakes, she mumbled, setting the box on our coffee table with trembling hands. Cupcakes. Derek loves cupcakes, don't you, honey? Though he usually prefers the ones from that bakery on Knox Street. Is that where you got these? Brianna nodded mutely, sinking into the armchair. She looked so small, so young, sitting there in our living room. Just a kid who'd made a catastrophically bad decision. I turned to Derek. Baby, why don't you sit down too, next to me? I patted the couch cushion beside me. Derek moved like a robot, mechanical and stiff, lowering himself onto the couch. He kept at least 2 feet between us, but I wasn't having that. I slid over and pressed myself against him, linking my arm through his, resting my head on his shoulder in a parody of affection. I felt his whole body tense, felt the rapid hammering of his heart through his shirt, felt the cold sweat starting to bead on his skin. There, I said cheerfully. Now we're all together. Isn't this cozy? The silence that followed was suffocating. Brianna sat with her hands clasped in her lap, staring at the floor. Derek sat frozen beside me, barely breathing. I was the only one who seemed comfortable, but inside my heart was breaking into smaller and smaller pieces. So, Brianna, I said, breaking the silence. How's the internship going? Derek tells me you're doing really well. Very sharp. A fast learner. It's fine, she whispered. That's good to hear. Derek's such a great mentor, isn't he? Always going above and beyond for his team. Staying late to help with projects. Taking people to lunch to discuss their career development. He's really invested in your success. Each word was chosen carefully, loaded with double meaning. Brianna flinched at everyone. Derek remained paralyzed beside me. Would you like something to drink? I asked. We have wine, beer, sparkling water, regular water. Water's fine, Brianna managed. Perfect. I'll be right back. I stood and walked to the kitchen, leaving them alone together for just a moment. I wanted to see if Derek would try to communicate with her, try to salvage this somehow. But when I glanced back, they were both still frozen, not even looking at each other. Two statues of guilt and shame. In the kitchen, I opened a cabinet where we kept our nice glassware, our Waterford crystal, gifts from Derek's parents, beautiful, expensive, elegant pieces we used for special occasions. I passed right by them and instead grabbed a red Solo cup from the party supplies drawer. The kind of cheap plastic cup you'd use at a college keg party. I filled it with tap water from the sink, not even cold water from the fridge. Then I prepared 2 cups of our expensive imported coffee using our French press, pouring them into delicate porcelain cups that cost $40 each. The symbolism wasn't subtle, and I wanted it that way. I wanted Brianna to understand exactly what she was to my husband. Cheap, disposable, temporary, something you use and throw away without a second thought. I returned to the living room with a bamboo tray, setting it on the coffee table. I placed the Solo cup of water in front of Brianna, then handed one of the porcelain cups to Derek, keeping the other for myself. The contrast was stark and intentional. Brianna stared at that plastic cup like it was a slap in the face. She understood. Her cheeks flushed with humiliation, but she said nothing. What could she say? I settled back onto the couch, closer to Derek this time, practically in his lap. I could feel him trying not to recoil from my touch. So, I said brightly, let's chat. I love getting to know Derek's coworkers. We should do this more often. I took a sip of my coffee, savoring the rich flavor. Derek's cup sat untouched in his hands. Brianna hadn't touched her water. How long have you been with Tech Vision, Brianna? 3 months now? 4, she said quietly. 4 months. Time flies. And you're working directly under Derek, right? In project management? The words working directly under were chosen deliberately. She winced. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am? Like I was ancient. I was only 8 years older than her, but the gulf between us felt infinite. Derek speaks very highly of your work ethic, I continued. He says you're always eager to learn, always asking questions, always staying late if needed. That kind of dedication is rare in young people these days. Thank you, she whispered, though it didn't sound like a compliment the way I said it. I turned to Derek, stroking his arm affectionately. He flinched. Honey, didn't you say Brianna reminds you of yourself when you were starting out? So hungry to prove yourself, so focused on success? Derek finally found his voice, though it came out as a croak. Yes, I think I said something like that. It's wonderful that you're mentoring her so closely, really investing in her development. That's what good leaders do, right? They pour into their people. The room felt like it was running out of oxygen. Brianna looked like she might be sick. Her skin had gone from pale to faintly green. Are you okay, Brianna? I asked with fake concern. You look a little unwell. Is the water not cold enough? I can get you something else. I'm fine, she managed. Good, because I want to tell you about something exciting. Derek and I have been planning the most amazing trip for next month. We're going to Napa Valley for a week. Wine tasting, couples massages, dinners at Michelin-starred restaurants. It's going to be our second honeymoon, really. After 7 years, we thought it was time to reconnect. You know? Remember why we fell in love in the first place. I felt Derek tense even more beside me. Brianna's eyes filled with tears that she desperately tried to blink away. And after that, we're seriously looking at properties. There's this amazing ranch about an hour outside Dallas. 40 acres, beautiful old farmhouse that needs some updating. Derek's always dreamed of having land, horses maybe. A place for our kids to grow up away from the city. At the word kids, Brianna's composure finally cracked. A tear slid down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly, but not before I saw it. We're actually going to start trying soon, I continued, my voice warm and intimate. We've been waiting until we were really financially stable. And with Derek's promotion to senior project manager, we finally feel ready. I'm thinking maybe a boy first, then a girl. Derek wants them close in age, don't you, baby? Derek said nothing. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. My parents are so excited. They've already started talking about being grandparents. Derek's mom keeps sending me articles about pregnancy. It's sweet, really, how invested everyone is in our future. I was painting a picture and I knew it. A picture of a future that was solid, planned, backed by family and finances and 7 years of history. A future that a 24-year-old intern with a cheap dress and a box of cupcakes could never compete with. No matter how many late-night texts she sent. What about you, Brianna? I asked suddenly. Do you want kids someday? She looked startled to be addressed directly. I haven't really thought about it. Of course not. You're young. You've got your whole life ahead of you. So many opportunities. So many choices to make. Like what kind of person you want to be. What values you want to live by. The words hung heavy in the air. Brianna's hands trembled as she reached for the plastic cup. She took a small sip, and I noticed her trying not to grimace. Warm tap water on a hot Texas night. Unpleasant, but it was all she deserved. I turned my attention back to Derek, running my hand along his arm. Did you tell Brianna about the lake house we're looking at? The one in Blue Ridge? No, Derek said, his voice barely above a whisper. Oh, you'd love it, Brianna. 2 stories, huge wraparound porch, right on the water. My parents offered to chip in $15,000 for renovations. Derek's parents want to contribute too. It's going to be perfect for family gatherings, holiday dinners with kids running around. I can already picture it. More tears from Brianna. She wasn't even trying to hide them now. Her fantasy was crumbling in real time, replaced by the harsh reality that she was never anything more than a distraction. A toy. A mistake. Actually, I said, as if the thought just occurred to me. I need to make that down payment transfer tomorrow. Derek, remind me to call the realtor about the paperwork. We want both our names on the title, right? Right, he managed. Both our names. Joint ownership. Everything 50-50, the way it should be in a marriage. That's commitment, you know. Tying your financial futures together. Your lives together. Legally, emotionally. Every way that matters. I was making it crystal clear. Everything Derek had, everything he'd built, it was ours. Shared assets. Shared accounts. Shared history. If he walked away from me, he walked away from half of everything. If I walked away, I'd take half of everything. That was the power of a legal marriage. Of 7 years of building a life together. Something a casual affair could never threaten, no matter how intense it felt. The silence stretched out again. I could almost hear their thoughts, their regrets, their growing panic about how this was going to end. Oh, I exclaimed, as if just remembering something. Brianna, Derek mentioned you were worried about his stomach problems. That's so thoughtful of you to care about your boss's health. Brianna's eyes went wide. This was a trap, and she knew it. He was having issues with acid reflux a few weeks ago, I continued. But I had no idea he'd mentioned it at work. He's usually so private about health stuff. He must really trust you to share something like that. Derek's face drained of what little color remained. He realized his mistake. He'd complained to Brianna about something personal. Something he should have only discussed with me, his wife. It was proof of an intimacy that went beyond professional boundaries. I just overheard him telling someone, Brianna stammered. I offered to help. How sweet. And you said something about your mother's honey and black garlic remedy. That's an interesting suggestion. Very specific. Almost like you two have had detailed personal conversations about his health. Brianna couldn't respond. She was trapped, and she knew it. I turned to Derek with exaggerated concern. Honey, when did you talk to Brianna about your acid reflux? Was it during one of your late work nights? When you said you were in client meetings? Derek's throat worked as he swallowed hard. I don't I don't remember the specific conversation. That's odd. Because you remember everything else about work. Every project deadline, every client name, every meeting detail. But you can't remember when you discussed your personal health problems with a 24-year-old intern? The accusation hung in the air, undeniable now. I was stripping away every excuse, every possible explanation except the truth. I leaned forward and picked up my phone from the coffee table. You know what's funny? I said, my voice dropping its cheerful facade. The world is so complicated these days. I was reading something just yesterday about workplace affairs. Did you know they're one of the leading causes of divorce, and they almost always follow the same pattern? I swiped through my phone as if looking for something. Both Derek and Brianna watched with growing dread. The affair partner is usually younger, usually someone the person works with closely. And modern technology makes it so easy. Text messages, WhatsApp, direct messages. People think they're being careful, but they're really not. I looked up at Brianna with cold eyes. For example, sending a message to your married boss saying, I can't stop thinking about you, and last night was amazing. That's pretty bold, don't you think? Brianna's face went white as chalk. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. Oh, you thought I didn't know about that message? I asked innocently. The one you sent earlier tonight? Around 7? While my husband was making dinner? She started shaking her head. But I wasn't done. You want to know something really funny, Brianna? When you got that response, the one that said come over tonight, Simone's working late. Do you know who actually wrote that? Understanding dawned on her face like a sunrise of horror. That's right, I said softly. I did. I read your message. I picked up my husband's phone, typed that response, and I invited you here. I set this whole thing up. You walked right into it. Brianna let out a sound somewhere between a gasp and a sob. She lurched to her feet, grabbing her purse. I have to go, she choked out. I'm so sorry, this was a mistake, I never should have. Sit down, I commanded, and my voice carried such authority that she actually stopped halfway to the door. I said we were going to talk like adults, I continued. We're not finished yet. Please, she begged, tears streaming down her face. Now, please, I'll stay away from him. I'll quit my job. I'll do anything. Just please don't send those messages to anyone. Please, sit down. She sat, collapsing back into the chair, her whole body shaking with sobs. I turned my attention to Derek, my husband, the man I'd loved, the man who'd destroyed everything. And you? I said, my voice ice cold now. Do you have anything to say? Any explanation? Any excuse? Derek's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Finally, he managed, Simone, it's not what you think. I laughed. It was a bitter, harsh sound. Really? What do I think, Derek? Tell me. Because from where I'm sitting, I think you've been having an affair with a girl nearly 10 years younger than you. I think you've been spending our money on her. I think you've been lying to me for months, maybe longer. I think you invited her to our home, thinking I'd be at work. So please, tell me what I'm getting wrong. It was a mistake, he said weakly. A stupid mistake. She came on to me and I was weak, and it meant nothing. I swear it meant nothing. I felt my rage crystallize into something hard and sharp. She came on to you? So now you're blaming her? Let me guess. She seduced you? The powerful senior project manager was just helpless against the wiles of the young intern. That's not what I meant. And it meant nothing? I continued. So all those transfers from our joint account meant nothing? That perfume in your car meant nothing? Those late nights meant nothing? The fact that you know her mother's home remedies means nothing. Derek put his head in his hands. I'm sorry. God, Simone. I'm so sorry. You're sorry you got caught, I corrected. If I hadn't seen that message, you'd still be doing this. Tonight would have gone exactly as you planned. She'd have been in our home, maybe in our bed, while I was at work, and you would have lied to my face tomorrow morning just like you've been lying for months. I stood up, walked to my bag, and pulled out a folder. I'd prepared this earlier, during one of the many sleepless nights, after I'd started suspecting. I dropped it on the coffee table with a heavy thud. Bank statements, I said. With your transfers to Brianna highlighted. Movie tickets from nights you claimed to be at client dinners. Screenshots of your location history from Find My Phone, showing you at her apartment building. Phone records showing 3-hour calls at 1 in the morning. Receipts from flower deliveries I never received. Want me to keep going? Derek stared at the folder like it was a bomb. Brianna was openly sobbing now, her face in her hands. I've known for 2 weeks, I said quietly. 2 weeks of playing the dutiful wife while I gathered evidence. 2 weeks of kissing you goodbye in the morning, knowing you were lying to me. 2 weeks of dying inside while you kept up this charade. I walked to the kitchen, where the beautiful standing rib roast sat cooling on the counter. Derek had spent hours on it. Prime USDA beef, expensive and perfectly prepared. The kind of meal that said, I love you in every bite. I picked up the whole roasting pan and walked back to the living room. Derek and Brianna watched in confusion as I headed toward the trash can in the corner. Simone, what are you? Derek started. I dumped the entire roast into the garbage. 3 pounds of prime beef, perfectly cooked, expensive and delicious. Landing on top of paper towels and empty packages, the smell of the garbage immediately contaminated the beautiful aroma. My love for you is like this food, I said, looking directly at Derek. Once contaminated, it's just garbage, and I don't eat garbage. The symbolism was brutal and clear. Derek's face crumpled. Brianna let out a fresh sob. I walked past both of them toward our bedroom.
Get out of my house, I said without looking back.
Both of you. Now. Simone. Please. Derek stood, reaching for me. Don't do this. We can fix this. I'll end everything with her. I'll do anything. Please. Don't throw away 7 years. I turned at the bedroom door. I'm not throwing away 7 years, Derek. You did that the moment you decided she was worth more than our marriage. You threw it away every time you lied to me, every time you touched her, every time you spent our money on her. You destroyed this, not me. Please, he was crying now, full tears streaming down his face. I love you. I made a horrible mistake, but I love you. Don't leave me. You should have thought about that before, I said, and closed the bedroom door in his face. Inside, my suitcase was already packed. I'd done it this afternoon, knowing this moment would come. I grabbed it from the closet, along with my laptop bag and a box of important documents. When I emerged, Derek was still standing there, crying. Brianna had fled. I could hear the front door opening and closing. Smart girl. She'd learned her lesson. The lawyer's name is Tasha Williams, I told Derek. She'll be in touch tomorrow. Don't call me. Don't text me. Communicate only through her. Simone, please, just listen. I'm done listening to your lies. I walked to the front door, rolling my suitcase behind me. Derek followed, still pleading, still crying, still trying to salvage something that was already dead. Where are you going? He asked, desperately. That's no longer your concern. This is your home too. You don't have to leave. I stopped at the door and looked back at him one last time. This stopped being my home the moment you brought her into it. Even if she never physically came here, you brought her into our marriage, into our life, into our bed. You poisoned everything. I can't stay here. I'll sleep on the couch. I'll give you space. Just don't go. Goodbye, Derek. I walked out of that apartment, out of that building, out of the life I'd built with a man who didn't deserve me. I didn't look back. The Uber driver, who picked me up, didn't ask questions about my tear-stained face or my suitcase at 9 p.m. on a Thursday. Dallas was a big city. He'd probably seen worse. I gave him Tasha's address in Oak Lawn, my best friend since college, the one who'd stood beside me at my wedding, the one who'd warned me years ago that Derek seemed too perfect to be true. She'd been right. I should have listened. Tasha was waiting in the lobby of her building when I arrived, wearing pajamas and fuzzy slippers, holding a bottle of wine. She'd listened to my frantic phone call an hour ago, while I was orchestrating the whole confrontation. She'd heard it all. Now she just opened her arms and let me finally fall apart. I sobbed into her shoulder like a child. All the pain I'd been holding back, all the betrayal, all the grief for a marriage that was dead, it all came pouring out on a sidewalk in Oak Lawn, while my best friend held me and told me I was strong and this wasn't my fault. "Let's get you inside," Tasha said finally, taking my suitcase. "We've got work to do." Her apartment was small, but immaculate. All clean lines and neutral tones. She'd made up the guest room for me, fresh sheets and a vase of flowers on the nightstand. But we didn't go there. We went to her dining table, spread out all my evidence, and started planning. Tasha Williams wasn't just my friend, she was one of the top divorce attorneys in Dallas, specializing in high net worth cases, and she was "That motherfucker," she said, going through the bank statements. "He didn't even try to hide it. Look at this gift, dinner, birthday present. He might as well have written spending marital assets on my mistress. Will it be enough?" I asked. "For court? Enough? Simone, this is a gold mine. You've got financial records, photographic evidence, digital trails. Any halfway decent lawyer could win with this, and I'm better than halfway decent." She poured us both large glasses of wine. "But before we talk divorce proceedings, let's talk about revenge." I looked up at her. "What do you mean?" "I mean, yes, we're going to take him to the cleaners in court. Yes, you're going to get your half of everything plus probably more given his financial misconduct. But that's just money. That's just legal stuff. What about real consequences? What about making sure both of them understand what they've destroyed?" "I'm listening." Tasha smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who'd watched too many wronged spouses suffer and was ready to balance the scales. "Derek works at Tech Vision Solutions, right? Big tech consulting firm. Very corporate, very image conscious. They have a strict ethics policy about relationships between supervisors and subordinates." "Go on." "And this Brianna girl, she's an intern? Fresh out of college, her whole career ahead of her." I nodded. "Here's what we're going to do," Tasha said, opening her laptop. "We're going to draft a very detailed, very professional email to TechVision's CEO, their head of HR, and their compliance department. We're going to outline with evidence how one of their senior project managers has been engaging in an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate, how he's been using company time and resources for personal affairs, how he's been creating a hostile work environment." My eyes widened. "You want to get him fired?" "I want to make sure he faces real consequences," Tasha corrected. "Divorce is one thing, losing your career is another. Let him feel some of the pain he's caused you. Let him understand that actions have consequences." "Won't that hurt my settlement?" "If he loses his job, we'll file for divorce first, lock in his current salary for alimony and asset division calculations. Then we'll send the email. By the time he actually gets fired, if he gets fired, the financial terms will already be set. But his reputation will be destroyed. His career will take a massive hit, and that young girl will learn a very expensive lesson about messing with married men." I thought about it. The vindictive part of me loved the idea. But another part of me hesitated. "Isn't that cruel?" Tasha put her hand over mine. "Simone, he cheated on you. He lied to you for months, maybe longer. He spent your money on another woman. He was going to let her into your home tonight. He destroyed your marriage, your trust, your sense of safety. And you're worried about being cruel?" She had a point. "Think about it this way," Tasha continued. "If you don't report him, he'll keep doing this, maybe not with Brianna after tonight, but with someone else. Some other young employee who doesn't know better. He'll abuse his power, he'll cheat on whoever he's with next, and the cycle will continue. You have a chance to stop that, to protect the next person. That's not cruelty, that's justice." When she put it that way, my hesitation evaporated. "Let's do it," I said. We worked through the night, Tasha and I, crafting the perfect email. It was professional, detailed, and devastating. We attached screenshots of the WhatsApp messages, bank statements showing the transfers, photos of receipts for romantic dinners charged to Derek's corporate card, a timeline of their relationship based on the evidence I'd gathered. Everything organized, indexed, irrefutable. The subject line read, "Formal complaint regarding ethics violation and inappropriate relationship between senior management and subordinate employee. We'll send it Monday morning," Tasha said. 9 a.m. sharp, right when everyone's checking their email for the week. Maximum impact. That weekend passed in a blur. Derek called and texted constantly. I blocked his number. He tried emailing. I filtered those to spam. He showed up at Tasha's building, but the doorman, warned in advance, didn't let him up. Saturday, Derek's mother called me. Then his sister. Then his best friend. They all wanted to know why I'd left. What happened? Couldn't we work it out? I told them all the same thing. Talk to my lawyer. On Sunday, I visited my own parents. My mother took one look at my face and knew. She held me while I cried and told her everything. My father, usually calm and measured, turned red with anger. He wanted to drive to my condo and confront Derek himself. I talked him out of it. Legal channels, I said. We're doing this right. That boy betrayed you, my father said, his voice shaking. After everything, we welcomed him into our family, treated him like a son. After the money we loaned you two for that condo. After all these years of supporting your marriage. I know, Dad. We want our money back, he said firmly. Every penny we contributed. That's non-negotiable in the divorce. Tasha's already on it, I assured him. Monday morning arrived. Tasha and I sat at her dining table, coffee in hand, laptop open. At exactly 9 a.m., we sent the email to the CEO of TechVision Solutions, to the head of Human Resources, to the compliance officer, to the head of Derek's department. Then we sat back and waited for the explosion. It didn't take long. By 10:30, my phone was blowing up with blocked numbers. Derek trying to reach me from different phones, different accounts. I ignored them all. Tasha's work phone, however, received a call at 11 from TechVision's legal counsel. She put it on speaker so I could hear. Ms. Williams, this is David Chen from TechVision Solutions. I'm calling regarding an email we received this morning concerning one of our employees. Yes? Tasha said professionally. We take these allegations very seriously. We're launching an immediate investigation. I wanted to reach out to your client, Mrs. Harris, to gather more information and evidence. Mrs. Harris is prepared to cooperate fully, Tasha replied. We can schedule a meeting for later this week. Actually, we'd prefer to move more quickly. Would tomorrow be possible? We've already suspended Mr. Harris pending the outcome of our investigation. I felt a surge of satisfaction. Suspended? Less than 3 hours after we sent that email. Tomorrow works, Tasha said. 2 p.m.? Perfect, thank you, Miss Williams. After she hung up, Tasha and I high-fived like teenagers. He's done, she said. Even if they don't fire him, his reputation at that company is destroyed. He'll never get that promotion now. Probably will end up having to leave just to escape the stigma. What about Brianna? I asked. Oh, she's toast, Tasha said confidently. They don't keep interns who cause this kind of scandal. She'll be lucky if they don't sue her for breach of ethics policy. Her career in Next Consulting in Dallas is over before it started. Part of me felt bad for Brianna. She was young, stupid, made a terrible choice. But then I remembered her text message. I can't stop thinking about you, boss. Last night was amazing. She knew he was married. She knew what she was doing. Youth wasn't an excuse for that. The meeting on Tuesday with TechVision's legal team and HR was brutal for Derek, I'm sure. I presented everything. They took copies of all my evidence. They asked detailed questions about the timeline, the financial transfers, whether Derek had ever used his position to pressure Brianna, or if it was consensual. I told them the truth. I didn't know the full dynamics of their relationship, but the power imbalance was undeniable. By Wednesday, both Derek and Brianna had been terminated. The official reason given internally was serious violation of company ethics policy and professional conduct standards. The unofficial reason, whispered through the Dallas tech industry grapevine, was sleeping with his subordinate while married. Derek's career didn't just take a hit, it imploded. TechVision was well connected in the Dallas business community. Word spread fast. Other firms heard about why he'd been fired. In the tech world, especially in a city like Dallas, reputation matters. Within a week, every recruiter he reached out to had heard the story. Some version of it, anyway, probably exaggerated with each retelling. Brianna fared even worse. She was early in her career. No established network, no reputation to fall back on. Getting fired from her first real job after college for an affair with her married boss. That followed her. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she moved back to Houston with her parents, changed her phone number, deleted all her social media, trying to disappear and start over. I felt a twinge of sympathy. But only a twinge. The divorce proceedings moved quickly once Derek realized he had no leverage. With all the evidence of his infidelity, his misuse of marital assets, and his misconduct, his lawyer advised him to settle rather than fight. The condo was put up for sale. It sold fast. Luxury real estate, in uptown Dallas, always moved quickly. After paying off the mortgage, we split what remained. But I also got back the $15,000 my parents had contributed toward the down payment and renovations, plus half of everything else. The settlement wasn't huge, we'd only been married 7 years. But it was fair, more than fair, considering I got to walk away with my dignity, and he got to slink away in shame. 2 months after that terrible Thursday night, I stood in front of a new townhouse in Bishop Arts District. It was smaller than the condo, no luxury high-rise views, but it was mine, all mine. No shared memories of betrayal, no ghosts of a failed marriage, just clean slate and fresh potential. I decorated it exactly how I wanted. Soft, warm colors. Plants everywhere, bringing life and oxygen into the space. A cozy reading nook by the window. Art from local Dallas artists on the walls. It wasn't trying to impress anyone. It was just me, distilled into a living space, and it felt like home in a way that condo never really had. Work became my sanctuary. I threw myself into projects, took on new clients, pushed for that senior director position I'd been eyeing. 3 months post-separation, I got the promotion. More money, more responsibility, more validation that I was capable of success without Derek. That I'd always been capable. I just hadn't seen it clearly before. My social life shifted too. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected during my marriage, joined a book club, started taking salsa dancing classes on Thursday nights. Slowly built a life that was full and satisfying without a man at the center of it. 6 months after leaving Derek, I was sitting on my tiny balcony with Tasha and 2 other friends, drinking wine and laughing at something silly. My phone buzzed with a notification, an email from someone I didn't know. Curious, I opened it. "Dear Simone," it read. "You don't know me, but I read your story on a women's forum. Someone shared it. No names or identifying details, just the basic outline of what you went through and how you handled it. I want you to know that your story gave me the courage I needed. I've been in a similar situation for 2 years, knowing my husband was cheating, too afraid to leave, too worried about being alone, too comfortable in the life we built. But reading what you did, how you stood up for yourself, how you demanded better, it woke something up in me. I filed for divorce yesterday. Thank you for showing me that we don't have to accept betrayal, that we deserve better, that we can survive this and even thrive. Thank you." I read it twice, tears in my eyes. Not sad tears, but something else. Gratitude, maybe. Purpose. My pain had meant something. My story had helped someone. I showed it to Tasha. She smiled and raised her glass. "To you, Simone. To surviving. To thriving, to never settling for less than you deserve." "To never settling," I echoed, clinking my glass against hers. The Dallas skyline glittered in the distance, beautiful and full of promise. Somewhere out there, Derek was probably struggling, facing the consequences of his choices. Brianna was probably trying to rebuild her reputation, her career, her life. And I was here, in my little townhouse in Bishop Arts, surrounded by friends, successful in my career, free from lies and betrayal. My name is Simone Harris. I'm 32 years old. I'm single, successful, and finally at peace. The pain of betrayal taught me something valuable. I'm stronger than I ever knew. Strong enough to face the truth. Strong enough to demand justice. Strong enough to walk away from something that was killing me slowly. Strong enough to build something better. I used to think my marriage defined me. That being Derek's wife was part of my identity. I was wrong. I define myself, and I choose to be someone who doesn't tolerate betrayal, who doesn't make excuses for people who hurt me, who doesn't settle for crumbs when I deserve the whole meal. The story could have ended differently. I could have stayed. I could have forgiven him, tried to work it out, spent years in therapy trying to rebuild trust that was shattered. Some women do that. Some marriages survive infidelity. Maybe they come out stronger. But I knew in my bones that wasn't my path. The moment I saw that message on his phone, something fundamental broke. Not just my trust in him, but my trust in the life we'd built together. Every memory became suspect. Every sweet moment potentially a lie. I couldn't live like that, constantly wondering, constantly vigilant, constantly afraid of the next betrayal. So I chose differently. I chose myself, and I've never regretted it. Sometimes late at night, I think about that moment when I opened the door and saw Brianna standing there. The look on her face, the perfect trap springing shut, the satisfaction of watching them both squirm. Was it cruel? Maybe. But it was also necessary. They needed to understand, viscerally, what they'd done, the real consequences, the real pain. Derek tried to reach out a few times in the months after the divorce was finalized, apologizing, explaining, asking if we could talk. I never responded. There was nothing left to say. He made his choices. I made mine. We were both living with the results. I heard through mutual friends that he eventually found work at a smaller firm, a significant step down from Tech Vision. That he's dating someone new, someone age-appropriate this time. Though apparently she knows about what happened with his ex-wife, and keeps him on a very short leash. Good, he should be on a short leash. As for Brianna, I honestly don't know. I stopped asking. She's young, she'll recover. She'll be more careful next time, hopefully. Maybe she learned something from this disaster. Maybe not. Either way, she's not my responsibility. My phone buzzes again. Another text in the group chat with my friends, making plans for next weekend. Brunch, shopping, maybe a movie. Normal, simple pleasures. The kind of things that make up a life. I take a sip of my wine and look out at the city I love. Dallas has been good to me. It gave me my career, my friends, my independence. It's where I became who I am, and who I am, I realize, is pretty damn amazing. I'm not saying the pain wasn't real. It was. I cried for months. I questioned everything about myself, my judgment, my worth. I had days where I didn't want to get out of bed, where the thought of facing another morning alone felt unbearable. But I got through it. With Tasha's help, with my family's support, with therapy and wine and angry workouts and late-night ice cream and all the other cliched ways people heal from heartbreak. And slowly, painfully, I stitched myself back together. Not the same as before, better, stronger, wiser. I learned that I don't need someone else to complete me. I was always complete. Derek didn't make me whole. He was supposed to complement me, to add to my life, not define it. And when he failed at that, when he betrayed that trust, I was still whole. Damaged. Yes. Hurting. Absolutely. But not broken. Not destroyed. Just changed. And change, I've learned, isn't always bad. Sometimes it's exactly what we need. Sometimes, we have to lose everything we thought we wanted to find what we actually need. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to us becomes the catalyst for the best thing. I didn't want my marriage to end. I didn't want to discover my husband was a liar and a cheat. I didn't want to go through the hell of that confrontation, that divorce, that rebuilding. But now, 6 months out, I can honestly say I am happier than I was. More authentically myself. More confident, more clear about what I will and won't accept in my life. The doorbell rings, pulling me from my thoughts. I glance at the time. Right on schedule. I open the door to find a delivery guy with a large box. My new bookshelf. The one I ordered last week. One more piece of my new life. Falling into place. As I sign for the delivery, I catch my reflection in the hallway mirror. I look different than I did 6 months ago. Not physically, though. Maybe I've lost a few pounds from stress. But something in my eyes, something harder and softer at the same time, the look of someone who's been through fire and come out tempered steel. I carry the box inside, already planning where it'll go, what books I'll display, and I smile. A real smile, not the fake ones I wore for months while living a lie. A smile that reaches my eyes and means something. This is my life now. Small and simple and entirely mine. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.